Free trade tends to maximize benefit for people, not companies or countries, and the needs of each often come into conflict. Target, Walmart, and other stores that sell products which are mostly from other countries illustrate this point. When it comes to spending our own money, I think most of us want to get the best deal we can get. Of course, best deal can have different meanings, but for most of us it means the best quality at the least price or sufficient quality at a low price. A lot of people feel they get that from these stores, which explains their success. However, politically, we also want these stores and companies like them to encourage and support domestic products and employment. This results in conflict. Trade policy is driven by politics, which in turn is driven by the wants of the most influential, who often don't accurately represent the wants or needs of the majority. Powerful lobbyists in important election regions are the squeaky wheels that get most of the grease. The needs of a single country sometimes conflict with what's best for the world. Governments don't declare whether their policies are meant to maximize national or world benefit. I'm not even sure they know. Instead, each issue tends to be decided politically, making decisions less consistent and less effective. Imagine a political leader who says, "We're always going to do what's best for the world." How many votes do you think that would get them? Now, imagine a political leader who says, "We're always going to do what's best for our country, even if it is at the expense of the world." I think some would actually approve of that and some would not. The rest of the world would be peeved for sure. And it would be nice if we could do both, but that is not always possible. And those hurt by these decisions, whether they are in our own country or in another country, will certainly retaliate if they can. You can't make everyone happy all the time. The benefits of trade are not always clear. Who benefits at whose expense? Despite the use of complex models and simple ones, as we discussed in the first module, and despite all other efforts by some very smart people, it's not always easy to say who is getting the best deal. These are just some of the things that make trade policy, including topics like offshoring, controversial. Next, we're going to look at a few more. Trade theory sometimes recommends a country leave uncompetitive industries or industries where they can no longer compete effectively and divert resources to more promising ones where they can compete better. But there are several problems with this. One, people don't or won't or can't change careers as often as trade might recommend. Change is painful. Difficulties of transferring health and retirement benefits make changing jobs undesirable as well. Imagine if these benefits actually did follow you from job to job, unaffected by where you work. That would make changing jobs a bit less painful, wouldn't it? Difficulties in finding comparable work for some skill sets, especially non-general skill sets. Though the U.S. has a great track record of re-employing the unemployed, not everyone is able to find comparable work. Sometimes they have to settle for less, which is not fun and not desirable. As a result, people exert influence on the political process to slow change. However, history has shown that trade tends to win over time, as businesses are forced to make unsavory choices in order to remain viable. Here are even more sources of conflict. No one wants to see their job go away, especially if it's offshored. It seems to be even harder to swallow than, "This machine makes your job obsolete," or "We decided we don't need what you're doing anymore." Losses in manufacturing jobs lead to losses in related services and support jobs. When the domestic automakers started having problems, many other companies in the extended ecosystem were impacted too. People who lose their jobs often are forced to take lower paying jobs, as we mentioned earlier. Offshoring is sometimes blamed for layoffs resulting from other reasons such as technological advances, economic recessions, consumer demand shifts, and business reorganization. And offshoring is especially controversial for government contracts. We'll talk about that in the module about protectionism.